how do you boil down your great idea into a way that just connects with people? Whether it's your boss, your team, your customers, your suppliers, your partners, you need to think about how to take your wonderful new innovations and articulate them in a way where your message sticks. And that really brings me to the importance of having a well-packaged story. And we're going to spend our most time on this part because it is the direct answer to why should I choose you? Why should I choose your product? Why should I choose your idea, your service, your brand? All of us are in different industries, so think about how that question applies to you. And I want you to think about what's your answer to me of why should I choose you? If you had to tell me that in 7 words or less, why should I choose you? And 7 words or less is important because that's all that people really remember in terms of what to convey in their discussions and word of mouth. It happens to psychologically reflect the amount we can remember very easily in our short-term memory. And so then the question is, what's your answer? Why should I choose you in 7 words or less? And at Trend Hunter, we've spent a lot of time working on this, and we have an internal rule, and I'm going to explain where our research comes from. But our rule is that, rule number 1 is that you must relentlessly obsess about your story. And for us, this means the title of your idea, the title of what would be published in an article that we will run to our audience. And so far, Trend Hunter has had 3 billion views from 150 million people, and we've published 400,000 articles, which I like to think of as 400,000 experiments. And as an analytics research firm, we've been very carefully trying to figure out what makes some messages stick when others do not. And I would boil it down to the 7 words or less, the title. And we've consistently seen that a great title can make an idea work even better than an idea that might actually be the superior concept. So the question then becomes pretty important. Why should I choose you? 7 words or less. And how we break it down. The system that we've deduced, which we compensate our editors on, we study, we test, we continually reflect back on, revolves around 3 items. You need your message, your title, your articulation to reflect 3 things. First, you must be simple. Simple messages supercharge word of mouth. Second, you need to be direct, and this is where most people fail. Direct is totally different than descriptive. Direct only means one thing. It means, why should I choose you? It's not the description. You wouldn't say, I'm a lawyer in Toronto specializing in X. You'd say, oh, I'm the best eco-lawyer and the only one that understands why. That's more than 7 words. But the point would be, you need to articulate why I should choose you, not just being descriptive. And then the final criteria is that you want a message that's supercharged. And here's where you basically pass the I have to tell someone test with something that just sounds so cool and desirable. So let's take the framework and let's put it to work with a couple ideas. So the first one is a picture of a real hamburger. This hamburger comes from a restaurant in Las Vegas, Nevada called the Fleur de Lis. It's inside the Mandalay Bay Casino. And at the Fleur de Lis, this is called the Fleur Burger, which sounds luxurious. It sounds nice, but it's not really simple. I don't know what Fleur Burger means. It sounds sort of French. It's not really direct and it's not supercharged. So what if we called this what it is? This is the world's most expensive hamburger. Well, now you're a little more intrigued. How much is the world's most expensive hamburger? It's pretty simple. You get it. It's direct. You understand the value proposition. We could also just call it by its price. This is a $5,000 hamburger. This hamburger costs $5,000. If you finish it, if you were crazy enough to buy it and you finish it, you should get a certificate for your wall that says, I just ate a $5,000 hamburger. Now, as silly as that might sound, next time you're in a restaurant, a year from now, 2 years from now, and you're sitting down and looking at a price of an expensive meal, you're going to reflect back and you're going to remember me, and you're going to remember this hamburger, and you're going to remember how much was it? $5,000. That message just stuck. So let's take this and let's reframe it in a different example of a burger. That's also a hamburger. It's a pretty big beast of a burger. it could come to us from any given name of a restaurant. It could come from Johnny's Hamburgers. If that's true, I'm going to guess it's simple, but it's not really articulating that they have these gigantic hamburgers. It could be much more direct because of that, and so it's not really a supercharged name either. But what if this came from Fatburger Cafe? That's a real chain, Fatburger. It's in USA and Canada. Well, now that would be a bit simpler, a little more direct. I would get what you're talking about. It's some giant burger, fat burger. It's obviously not healthy. I get it. But where this burger actually comes from is the Heart Attack Grill. At the Heart Attack Grill, this comes served to you by someone wearing a nurse's outfit. It comes in a combo pack that includes 3 beers and a pack of cigarettes. Terrible example, sorry, but wow. And if you finish it, they will put you into a wheelchair and roll you out to your car. Unbelievable, shocking, again, sorry for that, but wow. So let me take you out of hamburgers and just try to make this real, because once you start relating this to your own company and you do this as a workshop and your own idea and your own team, you're going to realize it actually gets really difficult. Find me the 7 words that perfectly articulate why I should choose you. And so I'll be honest, at Trend Hunter, I spent years working on this over and over and over again. And in the very beginning, our website used to have a little banner on the top and it said the #1 world's largest website. And I kind of thought that's cool. That kind of establishes our position. We were probably 20 or 50 times larger than all of the other trend websites in the world, still are. Cool. Why not emphasize that we're so much bigger? But the problem with that is that while that's simple, it's not direct. Remember, direct is answering the question of why should I choose you? Well, what if you don't need a trend website? That's not what you need. You need an answer. You need something different. You might not need a trend website. And it's not really supercharged. People aren't going to go talk about you for that reason. So what would be better? Well, for several years then, our trademark slogan was find better ideas faster. Better because we're using big data and, whatever, the research that comes from billions of views and all that stuff, and faster because of the system. I liked that. It was pretty good. I'd say at the time I felt like it was simple, direct, and supercharged, but after really thinking about it, it sounded a little bit slogan-y and it didn't exactly sound direct enough. So last year we went through a bigger research process and we changed to predict and create the future. What do we help you do? Predict and create the future. I don't know if that's as supercharged, but it's much more direct, much more simple. Now you kind of get what we do. So the question then is, how do you apply these lessons to your own brand or product or service or idea, and think about the need to break through chaos requires you to relentlessly obsess about your story. Why should I choose you? So here's how the workshop works, and if we were doing this live, this is one of my favorite workshops. I'm going to give you the steps, and then I encourage you to replicate this with your team. The step 1 would be sit your team down, and then try to think about what are the 10 plus words that best describe your new product, service, brand, whatever it is you're trying to work through. And your team will hustle. Give them 5 or 10 minutes on this. People will write down all the ideas. Oh, okay, we're this, that, whatever. But then here's the curveball. You will stick to the path of what worked before by writing down the words that are familiar. The curveball is to say those words are now banned. Do this entire thing again, but describe your idea not using any of the words on that banned list from step 1, and do it in 7 words or less. Well, if I made my Trend Hunter list, I would have put all sorts of things, innovation and big data, and those would be gone. And now I'd have to think differently. I'd have to say, oh, we're the, Netflix for new ideas. I don't know. But the point would be that act gets you to push a little bit harder. Then forget step 1 and 2 for a second, and then come back to the framework, and then just work through with your team again and again and again. How do you become simple, direct, and supercharged in your 7 words or less? So screenshot this if you like, but this is our favorite framework when it comes to getting your message to break through chaos. Answer the question, why should I choose you? And then make sure you're simple, direct, and supercharged, which means trying to make a message that will actually stick. Some of the other tactics in this section for making a message that stick, including finding ways to create cultural purpose around your brand, deliberately trying to be different, reconsidering the importance of repetition and simple words and simplicity in all of your communications, recognizing that simple word choice can have an enormous impact on the destiny of your company and people's understanding of what it is that you do. And highly recommended, take a course on copywriting, speaking, and marketing, or whichever one you feel could be your best accelerant. I remember taking a copywriting course, and I'm an author, but you know what? It's pretty wild to see how a copywriter would write something different, and then you receive back your document, your letter, totally edited in a completely different way, but wow, that's a lot more clear in terms of getting the message across.